Okay, wonderful. Welcome to the Rules and Public Policy meeting for today, Monday, January 24th, 2022. I apologize for the late start this evening. Does everybody see the agenda and had an opportunity to review it? I'm not hearing any upsets and nobody's screaming at me, so I'm going to assume everybody's had a chance to at least glance at it. So I'm still working on the meeting minutes. Promise again that I'll have those complete as quickly as possible, and I'll email those in advance so that everybody can have an opportunity to review them and figure out if anybody has any objections to any of them. So it's just some of our meetings were extremely long and, so that's what's taking so long. So I apologize for that. We have two pieces of legislation that was referred to this committee by Mr. Graver. This first one is, I guess, the salt contract. And I'm going to ask Ms. Zorb to help me out with this. Is this what this normally is?
Yeah. The one thing I don't know, we do this annually, but my question is, I was wondering, I'd like to be able to form a sentence, and apparently I'm struggling with that right now, so I apologize.
It's okay.
Quantity. Is there a quantity mandated in this, do you know? Have you read through it? And the only reason I'm asking is because I feel like last year we didn't use that much. I don't recall it snowing a ton last year.
Last year we had to order extra,
I thought that was the year before.
Last year we ran out and the residents were complaining, but we got hit by was it a 4 to 5 inch storm?
Okay.
They were complaining.
I got my years mixed up in my head then. I'm sorry.
Because the roads weren't salted.
Okay, so then let's just talk about this year. So far this year, I think we've only salted twice. So, and I know the rest of January and February, we could use a lot. I was just curious if there is, if there's a minimum to purchase
Well,
when you jump into this. Is it in there?
It says the political subdivision hereby agrees to purchase a minimum of 90% of its above requested salt quantities from its awarded salt supplier during the contract's effect period and.
Yeah, but that doesn't say what that quantity is.
Yes, it does not. It says
So,
above. So
that's why I was
kept
just,
looking because I don't see anything mentioned above.
yeah, and Mr. Graver,
Sounds like it might be a history of what we've ordered. And
Well-
we need to order
It says above requested.
90% of that.
I guess that,
Mr. Mosby was.
right, guess I'm not comfortable with this. I guess I have some questions.
Well,
That's
it
why I kind of
says-
asked Ms. Zorb. I don't,
I'm sorry, go ahead. I
No.
apologize.
no, you're fine. Maybe you have the answers to my questions that are in my head, because it just seems like there's a resolution giving permission to purchase salt, not how much or how much it's going to cost, but
Well, it says in accordance with the annual, it does not give it a specific amount, but if anyone knows it from the past, it says an annual road salt bid in accordance with Ohio Revised Code. So whatever was bid in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, and hereby agrees to all of the following terms and conditions in its participation of ODT and road salt contracts. So it
Okay,
looks
well,
like
let's-
there's a contract.
all right, let's look at that section of the Ohio Revised Code. Let's do that. I'm familiar with that.
And it looks
Okay.
like it's in accordance with ODET. which is Ohio Department of Transportation, right? I think
Yes.
that's what that means.
Yes, it is.
5513.01. Let's take a look and see what that is. Purchases of machinery, materials, and supplies, participation in contracts.
It does say section B, if that helps you.
Yep.
It does. Let's
Yep.
go down to section B. Okay. The director may permit a state agency, the Ohio Turnpike and Infrastructure Commission, any political subdivision, that's us, and any state university or college to participate in contracts into which the director has entered for the purchase of machinery, materials, supplies, or other articles. Okay. That just gives us permission to participate in whatever whatever they have going on there. Let's see. Political subdivision, desiring to participate in such purchase contracts shall file with the director a certified copy of the bylaws or rules of the or the ordinance or resolution of the legislative authorities, that's us, requesting authorization to participate in such contracts and agreeing to be bound by such terms and conditions as the director prescribes. Okay. Purchases made by a political subdivision under this division are exempt from any competitive bidding required by law for the purchase of machinery, materials, supplies, or other articles. Okay. So, all right. It looks like it's,
So that's really just the guidelines, it's not
Right.
specifics,
It-
because it's probably for any.
it's probably
contract.
whatever they're.
Yep.
Okay, so does anybody have any objection to us moving this back to council floor? Okay,
I do not.
all right. We'll send that back to council. There must be some kind of deadline or something, so
Yeah, I think it's written at the bottom.
April 22nd, yeah, okay.
No, April
No?
22nd is when we're allowed to rescind our offer, I
Ah,
think.
okay,
Isn't that what it said? I glanced at that.
yes, yep,
Says rescind.
okay. So maybe there's another date. There must be something coming up pretty quick. Mr. Graver just asked that we had to get it back to him for the next council meeting, so I don't have a problem about that.
You said 2 pieces of legislation?
Yes, so the next one is the resolution authorizing the city. You see that?
I don't have it.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here you go. Here's another packet.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
is it required that this ordinance have the names of the street, or it's supposed to be generic?
You're talking about the resolution for salt?
No, we're talking about the ordinance, the next,
Oh.
the next,
The street ordinance, it doesn't list the name, but maybe it's supposed to be generic? There's no names here.
I think that this might be the Hamilton Avenue project, maybe?
Hang on, are we talking about this ordinance?
The ordinance, yes.
Skip funds.
It's what?
They always call them skip. It's that, where did I just read it? State capital improvement. This is about money.
Oh, it's not streets.
Okay,
That's why it doesn't list streets.
Yeah, both provide financial assistance to political subdivisions. This is when they help pay for streets.
okay, we definitely want to,
Yes.
We're looking at this ordinance, right?
The
yes.
one that says ordinance, not the resolution one. Yes.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yep.
So then should that wording be changed to an ordinance authorizing the city of North South Shore instead of a resolution?
You're 1,000,000% correct.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Look
Good
at
catch.
you. All right.
What was the other one, right? Resolution, yep.
Okay. And ordinance, so I just changed the first two words on that. To prepare and submit, blah, 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 blah.
It's on the back too. It's in the certification.
Okay, so, that should be ordinance number, right?
Yes.
Instead of resolution.
Yeah. So I'll change that as well. And I will let Mr. Graver know. Okay, so section 3 also has the word resolution, but that should be ordinance.
You want me to make an email, I'm gonna send him an email right now as we're doing it?
Um,
Time, or would you like to do it yourself?
I think the rules say I'm supposed to do it.
Okay, I was just trying to save you
Do a
time.
little
I know.
control, put Control F and look for the word resolution. And then replace with ordinance.
Yeah, there you go.
Come on.
Blah, blah, blah,
Now that we
blah,
have
blah.
office, we can do that.
There we go. So other than that, are we okay with sending this back to the council floor?
Looks good to me.
Make corrections. Resolution. Okay. All right. So goals for, and obviously I don't know how to count from 1 to 8, so just that should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 instead of 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So,
Oh, that's right. Or am I looking at the wrong, oh. I was looking at the wrong agenda. Okay.
oh boy. All kinds of fun stuff. I was just trying to get out of the office so I could get here on time and, okay, so goals for 2022. I know there's been some, rumbling about the rules. So I thought maybe we could just do a review of the rules and figure out if there's anything that, we've done that. We started that last year when we didn't really finish. So I thought we could just kind of do the review. And do we have to have a committee of the whole to change the rules, or we can just refer them to council? Okay.
Are you moving down to old business with
No,
council rules?
goals for 2022.
So we're gonna try to do the rules, or do the rules?
Yeah, I think a review of the rules and refer them to council.
So, on the rules bit, Ms. Zorb had talked about who's gonna enforce them, if we get into that. What has been, I don't know, I'm asking because I haven't been here, what has been the rule in the past? I know Mr. Graver is supposed to, right?
May I try to respond?
Oh, please do. We were all looking at you like, yeah.
So I think it could be handled multiple ways. If you are close enough and you feel comfortable enough talking to somebody one-on-one, it's certainly an option. But when it doesn't get fixed, or maybe the other person thinks it's not an issue, then you need the daddy to step in and say, right? It's not, I don't think there's anything in the rules that talks about enforcement, is there?
Do you think we need to put something in there to talk about enforcement?
I could be wrong, but I think
Maybe.
like there's a part of the rules that says like sorry, I'm not speaking into it. There's part of the rules that says like the president of council like enforces or like keeps kind of tally of who talked and all that kind of jazz.
Right.
But I don't know about like rules outside of a specific council meeting, if that makes sense.
I guess
Right.
one of the things that kind of struck me, I don't know if it was Ms. Dewald or Ms. Zorb, who said, you know, you're not supposed to speak twice on an issue. I did know that, and we don't really follow it. But who keeps track of that to make sure that it's governed properly?
Mr. Graver.
The person who
I
grants
read-
access.
I read that on Friday, I was reading some of the rules, and if everybody wants to talk, you can't talk twice until all of us, so the one person I see that maybe is not following that is Matt Miller-Novak, because a few
Oh,
of us
I don't follow that
try to
either.
get in,
Yeah, I don't think I do either.
but,
I haven't been following it either, so I'm not gonna, yeah, we can't put Mr. Miller Novak on blast, because I know I don't follow it. But,
there's sometimes that, we get in heated discussions, and a few of us wanna get in, but we can't get in, cause he's jumping in multiple times, but that's just what I see when we get into heated discussions, where there's really a conflict. I'm sorry, it is what it is, but I'm just sitting here like, let me get a word in, and then he's on his second or third time, so that's just how I feel.
well, you have to, I think at some point, you have to, you know, say, Mr. President, point of order. And, you know, because I know the rules reference Robert's Rules of Order. So you have to say, you have to point it out to the president,
Yeah,
like,
I
the
agree.
rules say that everyone gets an opportunity to chime in before you circle back around
Right.
to someone to comment for a second time. So I think if we point that out to Mr. Graver, then he will certainly honor that.
Yeah.
But, you know, you gotta speak up, especially when it gets animated. I'm gonna call it animated.
Yes.
When the discussion gets animated, you have to, you know, speak up and say, you know, Mr. President, point of order.
And if he's on his second or
I'm gonna
third
look up
round,
that
I'm
word.
still talking. I'm like,
You're gonna look up animated?
It is what it is to me, so I can tell him to his face, it's not a problem.
Okay, so just to kind of piggyback on that. Bless you.
Bless you.
Because I have deemed him the kind of like order of service guy, you know, he kind of keeps the flow. Whenever he gives permission, he says sometimes, he acknowledges, like, I heard Miss Underwood and then
Right.
Mr.
Yeah.
Wald.
Or like, oh, I
And
think
it-
she was next, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I
said
feel
that.
like he's trying to
Yeah,
keep track of that the best he can.
I wonder if there's like I don't know if this would be appropriate for us to do, but like a system that we could come up with or like help him come up with, so that way that can be like more of a tool to be used, so that the way the rules can be better enforced than us just saying like, you need to enforce the rules. Like, he might just not have the ability to do it while he's, you know, focusing on 20 different things. So if we can give him a tool to better help him do that.
The
And
gavel.
I'll
Sounds like
even
he should
tag along with it.
rotate the table, almost like, you know, when things get heated, if Matt talks, then we say, all right, if you could start rotating the table, then we know, make sure nobody's missed, you know what I mean? We
You
go
guys have a
down
bit more
the
time.
table.
You're gonna wanna go for 30
But then
minutes.
sometimes when everybody, I mean, it's, you know, animated, sometimes there might be only 3 people that wanna talk. That happens also. It's not that we all wanna talk.
I think there's a simple solution. He just needs to, we just mentioned to him, if he could just add a cushion in there just by saying, before we circle back to Miss Underwood, does anybody else wish to speak on this particular topic? Then that way,
Right.
that gives, you know, everybody else an opportunity before I would say something twice.
Yes.
So like, this is where I'm not sure how to apply that. You know how sometimes, say Ms. Zorb will say something, I will address something directly that she said, and then she'll say something to
It's almost like a conversation between you and I versus.
for the group's how does that, me speaking back to her on what she's addressed me on or vice versa, does that count as more than one?
Oh, that's a good point.
The way the rules are written,
Yes.
it does. So it would be, he would have to, after you would speak, if she wants to speak again, he would just ask, does anybody else wish to chime in? And then we have to give everybody else an opportunity to chime in and then come back to her. That's the way the rules are written currently.
But that's how it works when you got 2 or 3 people there. Like last week, I didn't have anything to say about it, but Mr. Wall and Matt, they were going back and forth. So most of the time, it's 2 or 3 people that, feel like they have something to say, and the rest of us, most of the time, we're just listening. So, but I understand how, like you said, if we keep going back and forth, like tennis or something,
Right.
to the same 2 or 3 people
So-
during the meeting.
To piggyback on that, what you're saying, like, there have been times when, again, I'll use you as an example, where she's made a comment, somebody else, Matt and Mr. Wald, whatever, have commented, and then I will then say, well, my question is to, somebody who's already commented, is that, but she hasn't, or Marjorie hasn't, or you haven't, so is that also twice?
The way the rules are written, I think, that you have to give everybody an opportunity to chime in before you come back to
So then he could
a
say
person.
it.
So he would,
He could say,
we
"Is
would
there anybody else?"
we would either have to change the rules to give him discretion to guide the discussion. But the problem with that is that he's not always going to be president of council. So do we want to change the whole rule to give,
Right. Well, what I was thinking too, I mean, I feel like most of us are pretty logical. Like if I say something and then Arias asks me a question, I feel like most of the people would be like, okay, yeah, I feel like it's fine if she answers, that. Like, I feel like most of us are pretty logical. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody on council is always going to be logical, but like you just said, we can't always bank on Mr. Graver being our president. So I don't know. I feel like either way, they're eventually going to run into problems on council with it. We just got to pick what's best for the current moment.
And I don't actually feel like I don't get an opportunity. There are times when I'd want to push a comment through, but by the time I don't say it, someone else has actually said what I was going
Right.
to say, and I just at rest, or someone has brought up a different point, has made my point mute. So, I don't know. I mean, isn't anyone here feeling like?
I almost,
I had no desire to contribute, so I just listened. And
I almost wonder if,
that way.
I'm
I
sorry.
didn't have a desire.
I'm sorry, I keep stepping on you. I almost wonder if this could be resolved if we just talk to Mr. Graver and let him know what we expect of him.
Maybe
Right.
not even us, what the rules expect of him.
Well,
Right.
but I am gonna say us, because
Okay.
it is, if we want them to be enforced the way they're written, then that is our expectation.
Yeah.
Because these have been here the whole time,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
and I don't feel like a lot, not just even that one, I feel like there's a lot of them that have been overlooked.
Right.
So maybe we express to him that we would like some of them to have more emphasis. Unless I'm the only one that feels that way, then.
No, I share
No.
that opinion.
No, I
with you.
agree, yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
I think honesty is the right path. I think if we just say like, hey, we noticed that these are slipping, would you mind focusing on them for the next few months?
And so, oh, yeah, okay,
Do you take that back?
I do. See, that's one of those times where it's just like, you know what, it's just,
I just said that.
should go somewhere else or not at all.
Okay, so I think we'll certainly do the review of the rules. Is there anything else that we think that we should do?
Oh, I highlighted that, yeah.
Oh, for the goals, sorry.
For the goals, yeah, we're still under goals.
So,
I
I have a suggestion, but if you wanna talk about it in goals, or you wanna talk about it in new business, I don't care which one.
I
I
vote for
think-
goals.
Yeah, I vote for goals too.
Okay, so I will hand this to you now.
Okay,
That is an example.
okay,
So, I talked to a member of Trenton City Council,
okay,
and this is a document that their city administrator puts together before handing legislation to us,
Ooh.
to them. So what it does is it answers a lot of questions way before council would ever get it. It might streamline and simplify and take a lot of that discussion out of it if we had the answers ahead of time.
Can I see that?
Mm-hmm.
I do have it electronically also. Because obviously it would need to be adjusted, because it says City of Trenton on it.
Yeah, I like it. It basically just, it gives, and, you know, we can definitely recreate this very
Yeah.
easily, but it's like, this is, I
I
like
think
it.
my opinion is it'd be extremely helpful,
Oh, absolutely.
extremely informative.
So it's like a summary of the legislation written
Yes.
by the administrator for the eyes of council.
Would you mind making copies for this, for
I was
everybody?
gonna email it to everyone.
Our
Can I
agenda,
email it, or
remember I told Mr.
you guys
Does
want hard
anybody
copies
wanna-
or
Yeah, just,
printed?
yeah, if they could just, does
I'll
anybody want a
take it.
hard copy?
I'll take an email,
Oh, yeah.
because I have a little filing system in my,
Yeah.
for email, because you guys keep a,
You know,
So I'll just run down it real quick. So it
I'll try to
lists,
do both.
so it's a report to, so it'd be to us and the mayor, and then a report from whatever staff member came up with this idea, right? And then the agenda item, it's the title of whatever is in the legislation. And then it lists either the ordinance, resolution, motion, first reading date, strategic goals. If there's a contract, you would add any additional attachments. The fiscal impact, so it would list how much money it costs, if it's already been budgeted, what source funds would it come from? If there's a policy issue, are you trying to adopt a new policy or amending an old policy?
you want to read something on the top?
Recommendations, statutory policy authority, it just runs down a whole plethora of items that I think would be very helpful.
so, and how, I forgot what you said, how early did council get this, 2 or 3 days before, or a week before?
Even if we get it and it's attached to every
Right.
piece of legislation,
That's what I would think.
you know, then, you know, we have an opportunity, and you know, the rules say, we don't have, you know, you can stop the proceedings at any time you want to review a document or to review whatever it is, you know, because we don't really do that, but we can. You know, so if you haven't, you know, we get an email an hour before the meeting. Can I have that back? I'm sorry.
Yes, you may.
I think this is such a great idea. We get something an hour before the meeting and you haven't had an opportunity because you're commuting here, you can absolutely say, listen, I want to review this before we discuss it. I need 5 minutes to look at it.
Right.
And,
I've been at work all day, I mean.
right, absolutely. So without receiving, because we're supposed to receive them in advance of the meeting, we don't always, which is fine. But, you know, we are afforded an opportunity to review those things. And I think this would be a really good, it answers some of the questions that we ask.
That we usually have.
Yes.
We've seen them.
Absolutely. Yes, especially if, you know, it's got first reading date, second reading, third reading. I mean, even if you know, we can add, you know, because a lot of times, you know, there's a request that we suspend the readings. You know, if there's if there's a reason why, we can put that under recommendation. Recommend that we suspend the readings because, you know, this affords us to get the money for the taxes earlier than we would ordinarily get it. I mean, just something like that. I think this is kind of great, actually.
I think it cuts through a lot of the weeds that we get into.
The red tape and weeds.
Yep.
I would agree.
I like it. I like it. Especially the statutory policy authority. I really like that.
What does that mean?
Basically, what gives them the power to make the request that they're making, whether it's
Oh,
the statutory, like Ohio law,
right.
or our charter? Like, what gives you the authority to ask us to do this?
I like that.
You know, this is kind of, there's background information. I like it. I think we should adjust this and send this right on over.
Can you please tell your person at Trenton thank you so much?
Yes.
I would love to. Actually, I've had this for a while, and I haven't had the opportunity to bring it up before, so.
If we are moving on, I know Ms. 16 said she had another thing for the goals. I do too. I don't know
Okay.
if you want to go first.
Okay, so in lieu of people not really taking on the idea of wanting to go through some kind of training, I think a review of the rules would be good, to kind of reiterate what is already existing.
Okay.
But beyond that, so I was thinking about it, and I'm gonna just be honest.
Can I interrupt you for a quick second? I just want to send this email before I forget. Am I just sending it to the committee members that are here?
Yes, until we can,
Okay.
and then I'll amend it or we'll change it, and then I'll send it to everybody. And just, don't everybody respond, just kind of review it, and then respond only to me, saying okay or no, or whatever.
Okay.
I apologize for
No, you're
interrupting.
fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're saying training or,
So they were against it, that no one kind of wanted to go for it.
well, I would, here's what I would say about that. I think that if you do the legwork and say, training is gonna be on this day at this time, or,
That's where I was getting at. So
Yeah.
I would like to incorporate some training, and I'll do the legwork, because there is no training, you know, and everybody has a very diverse background, and we need to kind of reinstate some things, and that would be where the rules would fall in, and then kind of move forward. We've just had an election year. People are reelected. We're here for 4 years unless someone quits. So let's,
There's 2 for me.
oh, well, 2 for you, but we've got you for at least 2 years. And so we want to kind of get some coherent collaboration, and training is about elaborating on the skills that we already have. It's not corrective in nature at all, but it might actually serve as some correction for some areas where people are not really knowledgeable. So I don't necessarily feel like it should be refuted, like we just need to do it.
okay, well, I think that, what I would suggest is that you kind of create or come up with something, and then we bring it to the floor of council. That's what I think, because, you know, it's easier to, you know, just kind of, this is what it is, and here's when it's gonna be, instead of
Help me
having
with-
in theory.
Help me in suggestion where we need to start. So I thought group dynamics would be a good place. Because when you're at the table brainstorming and talking about existing issues, group dynamics, understanding how a group operates, and usually there are some very I don't know what I want to say. There are things that always happen in a group when you pull a group of people together. It just always happens. People fall in different dynamics of the group,
Right.
and understanding that will help. I feel like might help. But do you guys think that that's too remedial to start there?
I don't, and as a matter of fact, I think that what we can even do is make it a part of the council meeting. Like, you can kind of figure out how to structure it so that it's just a 30-minute thing, and incorporate it into the meeting itself. That way we don't get a bunch of people like, oh, I can't be there on Tuesday, I'm no good on Wednesday, Thursdays are bad for me. It's during the meeting, just And, and if we're not kind of, maybe if we do that, then our meetings won't take 2 hours sometimes. We can get through a meeting.
Can I throw out an adverse opinion to that?
Sure, absolutely.
What I am afraid of if that happens
In council or
in
the
in
meetings
council,
itself?
no, in council, it's on camera. And people like to limelight when they're on camera.
Ah,
And I don't
okay.
know that would be, I don't know that we would all be as open and honest as we should be.
No, that makes sense.
Can we do,
That's one person's opinion.
I know, well, no, okay, that's fine. I don't know really how to approach it. I just was thinking as it we're relating to.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about how can we make sure that everybody participates? And if we,
You're more worried about attendance.
Right.
Is that kind of where
Yes.
you're going?
because it doesn't do us any good if you and I are the only two people there,
I hear you.
and you and I can communicate just fine.
I get it.
You know what I mean? We have to have the whole, and again, we used to have, our finance director used to do a whole little, the slideshow with the pictures, which I'm not a fan of that, but, that's what trainings tend to be, so, since some people like slideshows. That's just
I'm
my.
not one of them, just so you
Okay,
know.
I'm not, I'm
I don't
just,
think you are either.
just give me the information I need. You don't have to put a picture of a man saying, yeah, just, seriously. Or a picture of a police car with the, the little police officer saying, just tell me how many runs you had. I don't need all that extra stuff, like, seriously.
No fluff.
Right, just I don't know. So that's my suggestion. I understand the limelight thing, so I guess we have to weigh, attendance with,
So I don't know how fast you can put something like this together, but the month of January is a 5 Monday.
Yeah, I was looking at that and I was wondering what we were
So
gonna do.
we'd have a spare Monday, and people usually, if something's regularly scheduled, we
right,
just show up on that Monday.
yeah.
I don't know.
I will
I'm
aim
just
for
tossing
the-
out an idea.
So, yeah, that's probably not as quick of a turnaround, but what, in lieu of that, I could look for the next 5 Monday month and then just schedule it ahead of time and then don't do group dynamics alone, do like a bunch of 30-minute. and
Okay,
maybe we all,
like some
take one,
modules, right,
And
sure.
then someone else can also go through a different one if we want.
The next one
And
is
then that
May.
will give us an opportunity to kind of come up with some ideas. So where else do you think anyone who kind of leaning on their corporate training, what things have you felt have been useful? The other one that I think is very useful is microaggressions, because it can be more than just ethnicity that causes you to kind of say things just you're aggressive but you're not. It's like a passive aggressive way to communicate something.
Would
And
administration be participating in this?
that's the one thing for me is that's the biggest weight in the room, and
Yeah, I would agree.
to not shoot anybody down, but we were talking about just a second. We were talking about it a little bit after Monday's meeting, and someone said that it's just the nature of the beast, but it's not though.
Right,
No, it's not.
And I do think disagreeing is the nature of the beast.
oh, sure,
And,
absolutely,
opposing opinions is the nature of the beast, but how you
Right.
go about presenting that, this is not
Right.
what it should be.
Well, and I think too, a big part of it too is how you go about accepting that. Because, if you're, you have a high wall up and you're on the defense and you're assuming everybody's angry at you, then the way you respond to the possible confrontation that may not be meant as a confrontation is going to be a lot different than somebody who understands that, it's a healthy disagreement.
So that's the reason why I said group dynamics.
Yep.
And then understanding what microaggressions are. Because
Right.
sometimes just putting the information out there and not
Yeah.
assuming that people know. I would love input on where to kind of go with it, so that as I look for the next 5th Monday in a month, I want to come back to this group because we have rules of policy here. and kind of talk about what we think will be good to put on that time. And then if this group would also help facilitate some of those with me, I would be happy to do the legwork.
Okay, absolutely. I think that's a great idea.
So I have two things to chime in. The next one is in May, but that would make it like Memorial Day. So I don't know how that would work out for everyone. I didn't go any further than that. But then the other thing is I would offer to help you with that. I've been in the corporate
Okay.
world for a minute. I've been
I would
to,
welcome the
Couple
help.
of seminars on microaggressions.
So what ones have you guys been through?
so
that
I've
have
never been in a microaggression, so I can't wait to sit
Right.
in that.
And I've been to a couple over the years.
Yeah.
Do what?
hot?
Yeah, I haven't been to a corporate training since I left my company, which was back in 2007.
I just
So that's been
yeah.
quite a long time ago, so,
I just recently graduated with a humanities major, so every class was a discussion on microaggressions, but I'm excited to learn about it in a new way, because everything I know is about, like, how to not accidentally offend a child kind of thing, or a parent,
Right.
or a family, or a culture, so I'm excited to learn about it in this kind of way.
well, yeah,
And
and,
people take on strategies of their own, like in their homes. You know,
Yeah.
my son sometimes just without even knowing, he's like a passive aggressive sort of communicator. And I'm like, dude, say what you want to say. You know,
Right.
Maybe
it's
he's
like
watched too many council meetings. Because that
That
seems to
could
be
be.
the mode
and
of
so-
communication around here.
And everybody kind of lends towards something, right?
Right.
And it's I tell them, take 30 minutes, say it respectfully, because I don't actually mind pushback from my kids either. I welcome that environment in my home. But I need you to take 30 seconds, think about how you need to say it so that we can move forward. And you can say it in a way that I'm not going to punch you in the nose.
Right.
You know, so
absolutely.
that's,
Figuratively.
and I
Sure.
felt like even in my home, that's training ground for him to be able to speak appropriately to people.
Absolutely.
You know, and we have different generations in this group, and it's sometimes like even work generations, like what's acceptable now may not have been acceptable years ago.
Right.
Right.
Insubordination in one case may not be. So it just, again, if you guys would email me, or if you think about any of them or tonight, to make suggestions on kind of guiding me on what things you've been through that you feel like are helpful with you at UC and you at Children's, and, you know, your school, and especially the humanities department, and, you know, your corporate experience, please do.
Madam Chair, I hate to say this, but you're bringing back old vibes, but, during this past fire levy, when we found out that we could do it with a 9 or a 10, we got talked down to and condescended to, you remember that?
I do.
Because we disagreed with someone. I don't think I need to say their name again, but see, it's not always everybody that's doing that, but I remember that when we tried to compromise with the 10 mil, and we were talked down to, fussed at, mansplained, and all of that, and we went through it. I just sat here and listened to it. So so I think everybody's guilty of that, but when you talk to me and you say that people are being rude, but there have been many times that things have been condescending and we have been talked down to, and we just sit there and listen and take it.
So
Okay,
that's why I
I-
felt like microaggressions were one of the good things
Right,
to put on there.
absolutely.
Because
I agree.
microaggressions kind of in a lump sum help you to deal with passive aggressive comments that really focus on the aggressive part, but they
Yeah.
seem passive. So, you know, that part I think we could cover there. Any other areas that you guys see? You guys are
Also,
more
like,
tenured than me.
something about
Like you said, you
constructive-
shouldn't be fussing at someone
constructive.
because-
constructive feedback or constructive
Feedback is a gift.
criticism, yes. So,
Maybe something in there too about like accepting constructive criticism, or like
Well,
accepting.
also, because I know that, I'm a lawyer, so I can be aggressive. I'm not trying to be condescending ever. That's not my intent ever, but I'm sure I come off that way
Oh,
from time to
yeah.
time.
Sure,
It's,
me too.
I'm certain of
Yeah,
it.
you're super
But
condescending.
some,
Yeah.
some people,
I feel so belittled right now.
but they would just come and tell me. I would accept that, and, you know, and 9 times out of 10, I'll apologize. You know, there's one time when I might not, but, you know, 9 times out of 10, I will, because that's not my intent. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I get you.
I know I was rather animated about the fire levy, so I certainly didn't mean to come across as condescending. That's
But
not.
we sat through a few meetings where I knew that because I had a different opinion, I was being fussed at and talked down to. And I don't think, I mean, the problem is that most of us, we're all adults, and some of us are middle-aged, I'm in that category, and you're not gonna change someone's mind by talking down to them. You're just making things worse.
Well, Ms. Blythe, I'm going to tell you that you and I are close to the same age, and I am so most certainly not middle-aged. So
I'm
I
proud of
take
mine.
I take umbrage to being referred to as middle-aged.
Also,
How old do you plan on living?
I don't know.
I hope that these classes or these
I'm
sessions
pushing
are.
60, I'm middle-aged.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad to be here, sweetheart.
I'm hoping that
Yeah.
what Miss Dixine is planning will kind of address some of your concerns. Because I mean, like I think we've all felt at a time or another
I definitely.
condescended, but
Fussing it up.
yeah.
Yeah.
But can I just point out the obvious part of this? So if everyone, myself included, are not receptive to this,
Right.
it makes us vulnerable, and that's the other side of the coin. So the thing that I was thinking is, I'm taking a class right now about assume positive intent, right? So
like
if
it.
if I assume you have a positive intent, and I take all of your advice, opinion, suggestion, whatever else, and I take all that, but you really don't, right? It makes me vulnerable. And I'm sorry, I'm using you as an example,
No,
only
I'm
because you've been using me
super-
as one. But, so it makes me vulnerable to, I don't even know how I'm trying to explain this.
I think
Figure out
that's
what you're saying.
yeah. I think that's just something that like at some point you just got to kind of accept and say, I can only control how I'm going to react to this,
Yeah,
and
that's the bottom line.
It's true.
yeah.
You have to go home every night when we have a meeting and say, look, I can only control myself
Right.
and how I feel. I can't control.
For sure.
others.
So
There's
if
a
I,
lot of aspects to it.
Right.
if I could speak to that a little bit, and I'm gonna give a real life example. She isn't here to give her side of it, but, last week, or not last week. Yeah, last week.
Yeah. Last week.
Ms. DeWald said, you feel the need, she said to me, you feel the need to repeat what I'm saying. I know what I've said, and I said, I apologize. I don't necessarily remember that, but it doesn't matter. I want to take in her feedback and create a better working relationship. And I want to be mindful, so just it doesn't matter, in my mind, it doesn't matter if I'm guilty or not. Not that I am belittling or dummying down what she's saying. I'm now more forward. Am I repeating back to what she's saying? Like I'm trying to,
Right.
so let's just say her intent was, just to make me feel like I'd done something wrong. So what? I've become more conscientious of doing right forward, right? And I'm not accusing her of that, for sure, on the record.
Take that down.
But I'm saying that by me owning and hearing what she said, it creates a better position for me to communicate at large with people. So I am vulnerable in a good way. I am no dummy. I am definitely not going to take in everything someone says and, wear it like I've been beat down. I'm not going to take it that way, but I'll take the good and cipher through what I need to keep and then, disbar what you, and
What you just said is, I just took a class no more than 4 weeks ago on on listening, and part of listening is repeating what someone has said to you. That the minute you said that, that is part of active listening and caring about what the person says. So
So
Yeah, there
that
are
is,
plenty-
that's one of your,
That was my
and
heart
it's
intent.
eye contact and leaning in. There's 4 or 5
that-
different steps to
it's so
active
true.
listening.
And so that's
Right.
why, what I wrote down is active listening, like the communication cycle. That's one good training that we can talk about. Because actually, what I did is I put my hand out and I leaned in and I did this. And to let her, and if you'll see me in my motions, because I'm like, it's such a ingrained in me, I do it all the time. Like I do it and I'll talk to you, like oftentimes I'll put my hand out because I am engaged in active listening and active communication. But it doesn't matter, it's the way that she felt. And so I'm not saying it's valid or invalid. I am just taking in what you're saying and creating a better atmosphere for
Absolutely.
us to communicate forward. And that is what I think we're lacking more than anything. It's like, I'm going to push through what I have to say, no matter how it makes people feel, so what, because I feel right.
Right,
And we've lost the essence of just saying it with charisma and consideration to others and how they may receive it. And you can't always walk on eggshells. We don't want to create that environment, but we want to create an environment that's a bit more gentle.
for sure.
People do not need to walk away from here feeling beat up on
Right. I
or
agree,
rethinking things, because it makes this job super stressful
for sure.
and people not wanting to be here.
But another thing that too is we are the checks and balances of each other. So it is way better if we all give different opinions, but sometimes when someone says something that maybe is different from what you feel, sometimes you think, now wait a minute, that's a different way of thinking. So the beauty of it is we don't all agree, but we feed off each other, almost like a brainstorming type thing. That way we come out with the best decision or idea possible. So what I'm saying is conflict is not all bad, but it's gotta be friendly and courteous conflict, because you might, somebody might say something and then you'll sleep on it and think, oh, okay, I never thought of it that way.
Right,
So it's not the, I don't think it's the disagreement, it's just how you do it and how you talk to each other.
right.
Sure.
We need to be each other's checks and balances, so we come out with the best decision for the city.
So that's
Absolutely.
kind of why I said something
Yeah.
about the team building, because that's what you do when you team build. You kind of come away from everything that you do in your regular roles, and you show each other care and concern outside of, you bring the humanity back so that you're not dealing so harshly with people when there come to issues like, he helped me. So team building is like, maybe rock climbing and you're paired with somebody, that
Right.
person helped me do this, and you create like atmospheres of trust and just humanity so that you not like, oh, that person's an idiot all the time. You're not always like dealing with that mask, when you see that person, you just see your persona of them all the time, and you look at them with a lens of just, like you said, what was the training called where you
Assume positive
assume
intent.
positive?
Yeah, my boss, I've heard that saying before.
Okay, so I do want to honor our time.
Yep, I'm done.
Can I
So
throw
it's-
out, can I just throw out one little,
Absolutely,
one of my mom's quips?
yes.
God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you listen twice as much as you speak.
I've heard that
I
one
like it.
too. That's a good one.
Yep,
Well, thank you. I think this is a really good start, and I'll do some
well, I think that, I think certainly we need to continue with this discussion for goals for 2022. I think it was certainly a good discussion. I want us to continue with it, but I also want to honor our time, because I think too often we kind of run over. So it is 7:30. I know we're ready for the next meeting, but before we do that, through the rest of the agenda, we have old business, we have new business, action items. Is there anything that anybody feels a great need to kind of mention, before our next meeting?
Just if you wouldn't mind putting the agenda for next meeting, like onboarding system for
Okay,
new council
absolutely.
members. That was
Yes.
the only like goal thing I was gonna say. but-
Absolutely.
For new what?
Onboarding, like system or procedure for new council members.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is that me?
Yeah, I remember.
What
Is that me?
is what you?
Who's what you?
Do I have to go to onboarding?
Well,
No,
I wouldn't think so
so.
now since you're pretty much already onboarded. Like same with like me and Larry. But like I just think of like when I was appointed and everybody was like, "Okay, jump into it. Have fun. Ask me questions if you have them." And I was like, "I don't even know where I am, but thanks." So I think like just something that's a little bit more procedure
Structured. I think that that's definitely something we need to kind of figure out what we want to include in that, whether it's a binder or just like an email with zip files or something.
Also
Just,
talking to
If nothing else, just the procedural part of it.
Right,
You
absolutely.
gotta figure out this document, this document, this document.
You and Mr. Wall, a list of things that I found out I needed from a year and a half ago.
And I
Remember
think-
that email?
I think Mary did start to
Oh,
create
okay.
some type of
I
packet.
sent you and her an email
Oh,
about
okay.
that.
Yes.
I was gonna say too, I mean, there's like the financial side of it. I know Ari Hall had like a really, like a pretty succinct system on the finance part of it. I don't know if they still have it over there though, with like the new change of people. But I don't know if
I'm
we wanna
gonna
talk to them
ask-
too and see.
I'm gonna ask our new finance director to put something together for us.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Anything else that anybody wants to include or just say? Okay, so it is 7:33, and I'm going to adjourn the Rules and Public Policy meeting. And just, we'll start the Public Safety meeting at 7:35. We'll give everybody a couple of minutes. And we have a guest speaker, and I believe I saw him come in, so I'm gonna try to track him down. I think. Welcome to the first meeting of the Public Safety Committee for 2022. I've passed out the agenda to everyone. I'm going to say again, I'm still working on meeting minutes. I'll get all of that updated as quickly as possible. Email all of that to all of the members for review. And, we'll put them wherever the meeting minutes are supposed to go. And we have a presentation from Joe Plackey. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Which I'm sure there's some sergeant, lieutenant, something that's supposed to go in front of that. I don't know what that is.
Deputy Chief.
Deputy Chief. I'm sorry, I was way off. With our fire department, our fabulous North College Hill Fire Department. So I will turn the floor over to him.
Okay, so with the passing of the levy back in November, first of all, I just want to say thanks to City Council and the citizens for doing that. It allows us to do so many great things to provide such a great service to the community. That being said, we want to keep with that commitment by making sure that we have the most reliable equipment and to do our job. So this proposal is for the replacement of a fire engine that we currently have. The current one that we have now is 29 years old. It'll be 29 years old this year. It is 1994 Suffin engine, and per NFPA, which is the National Firefighters Protection Association, it is out of date. It's that NFPA code states replacement after 25 years. So you can have it as a frontline piece of equipment for 20. Once it hits 20, then it goes to backup. You can keep it for 5 years, and then it recommends replacement after that. As you can see, we're a little bit over that point. So with that becomes more mechanical issues, finding parts, finding mechanics that'll work on it, and the overall reliability of the vehicle just starts to decrease. Currently, right now, I was told that the truck will randomly shut off as it's driving or when it's in pump. So they haven't quite.
Sorry, what shut off?
What's that? The truck?
Oh.
Yeah, like the engine will stop running, and we're kind of trying to figure out what is causing that. But you can see that that's one of the major problems that we're running into right now.
Right.
Outside of that, there's been numerous safety standards that have increased over the years that this truck does not meet. Our goal is to, and it started approximately 1 year ago, we formed a committee to discuss speccing a new piece of equipment for the fire department. So with that being said, we put together a committee consisting of 7 individuals and started working with different manufacturers. We started with 4 different manufacturers, told them what we wanted, and we narrowed it down to 1. Out of the 4, 2 did not meet our expectations or our needs for the city. 1 due to price. The other, they just kind of seemed like they didn't want to work with us and give us what we wanted. So those were gone. So we came down to 2. They developed 2 very good specifications, and our committee took a vote, and they chose to go with E1, which the representative next to me is vice president of sales of that company, and he's here to answer any questions, in particular about certain pieces of the specification that I can't answer, or he has the ability to do that. So with that being said, with the levy passing, there's money in that levy that was earmarked for capital improvement. So about $100,000 was earmarked for capital improvement for items such like this. So our goal was to use some of that to put towards replacing this fire apparatus. On top of that, we're dealing with multiple timeline crunches. We've experienced in just the year that we've gotten these specifications together. We've seen multiple price increases from anywhere from 4%, 6%, and I mean it totals up to be a lot. I mean, just February 1st, one of the manufacturers was telling me that They were gonna hit a 4% increase, which would total, I think I had on here, about $40,000 is what it would equate to. And nothing was changed to the specification whatsoever.
Wow.
And this is due to the supply shortages from the pandemic. So we're up against that tight window. So our priorities with this engine was a small truck, easily to navigate some more smaller streets, and effectively and efficiently do our job. This truck is not a extravagant truck by any means. It does not have any extras, if you will. It is strictly what we call in fire terms is a war wagon type truck. It has the ability to pump water, carry hose, carry personnel, and some tools, and that's it. There's no frills on it whatsoever. So, like I said, basic engine meets our needs, meets the city's needs, and our overall commitment to provide for the citizens and the visitors within the city. And also, a few other key priorities would be, it would increase, right now our main frontline truck seats 4 personnel. We've increased to 5 a shift. So we really don't have room to put that 5th person. This would accommodate that. We've actually upped it to 6 seats in this vehicle.
Wow.
So to allow for growth in the future, so we're not stuck. And also low hose beds, low crosslays, and low equipment locations to avoid personnel climbing up on the truck and possibly falling off. So decreasing injury, potential for injury. Very ergonomic.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. So you said this is a smaller truck and it won't have any frills, but is that because that's like what you guys need and you're okay with that? Or is that because you're trying to be economical?
We're trying to be very fiscally responsible with this.
Okay.
So we're getting we would like to get a bare bones.
Okay.
We don't.
Okay, so what do you have, can you give us the differences? Like, do you have different options available and what the different prices are, so we can kind of?
I don't have a price. I was given a budget, a relatively approximate number of $575,000. That was what we were going to stay at. We originally were under that budget, and due to the price increase, we are slightly above it now, and nothing has changed on the truck. So we went from 571 to 596.
So I guess I would be curious as to, like, in your heart of hearts, I know, like, obviously, you would like a fire engine that flies, but I'm just curious as to, I know this is bare bones, but, I know that we've heard Chief Fells tell us about certain machines and equipment that he's had to write grants for. I'm just curious as to, are those machines and equipment included? And if not, what would be the cost difference to include those items?
So what's included in this quote would be 2 ground ladders that go inside the truck, a set of pike poles used to pull ceiling and walls. I believe there's no hose put in this quote whatsoever. So I think there might be a positive pressure fan in that quote too. But other than that, there's no extras being built into this quote.
Can the extras that Chief Fellows has gotten through grants, like that we already have that are owned by the city and the fire department, can those be adapted to this engine?
Yes, I'm not exactly sure what equipment you're referring to.
I don't know. I've just heard of fancy, wonderful things and seen a few. I don't know what they are. I'm not a fire.
I know that there was some heart machine or
Yeah,
something.
like that. I've been to the
Right.
fire station and he showed me them and I was like, oh, that's
Lucas.
pretty. And that's
The
just
Lucas
kinda what I
device?
Yes.
We have one of those on each ambulance.
had. Okay.
Okay.
So, but yeah, if that's something that we could possibly, not in this quote from them, but if that's something that was an interest, then we can maybe see that down the road, putting one on that truck as well.
Okay, so I feel like you're not really answering our question because you've been given this like budget, but I'm gonna be a little obnoxious here at the risk of
No,
not
go ahead.
offending anybody. But, you know, at the end of the day, we decide that you can spend more or less because that decision is ours. So I'm wondering what you need as a fire department for you to feel effective.
What we need to feel effective is this spec. I mean, we were given a line item budget, yes, but we evaluated a lot of stuff. We started out by putting everything that we could think of on it,
Okay.
and then starting to whittle away at like, do we really need that? Or can we, maybe instead of that, let's do this. So it was able to be more financially responsible and effective and efficient with our operations.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you this. You can tell that I ask questions for a living. Can we see what you've whittled away?
Yes, there's actually in the written proposal that, not the PowerPoint, the other one,
Okay.
there's actually drawings in there that you can see what we've come down to. Now, the other side of that is a line item specification sheet that is probably 30 pages long, and it lists every single piece of equipment or part that's on the truck. Some of it I actually have to call Kevin and ask him what exactly it means. But if you'd like to, we can go over that at another time because it's such a large document.
I think I would be interested in seeing that.
Absolutely.
Is anybody else interested in seeing that document?
I trust that you know what you're doing. Because if you didn't know what it was, I'm sure as heck not gonna know what
Right,
it was.
exactly. I'm not sure. I guess I don't want, you guys to have to feel like you have to use a rubber band
Right.
instead of actually getting what you need.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're getting at, and I guess I'm trying to be modest when it comes to this stuff because I don't want to put us in a situation that we're going to regret financially. So that's where my head was at with doing this.
Okay.
So
As long as you're comfortable with this, I'm personally comfortable. I just don't want you guys to feel like you're, like Ms. Underwood said, like trying to squeeze into something that we put there for you. If you need more.
I just had a question also. I like your concept about you got just what you need, but it seems like when you get this, basically everything you need, as the years go by, when you run into things maybe that you didn't know you needed, you can actually add on to this basic truck. Is that your idea? If something comes up, okay, we do need this, so you can, it's configured to where you can add on things as you see the need, maybe in 5 or 10 years.
yes,
Is
ma'am,
that
we can
correct?
reconfigure the compartments
Mhm.
to maneuver things around to make them fit
Mhm.
or change things out. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like you didn't want to get every bell and whistle known to man, but you wanted to get everything you needed, and then you can add on as you discover new modern concepts that you need.
To a certain extent, yes, we can do
It's a good
that.
plan. It sounds like a really good plan.
Well, can you elaborate on to a certain extent? Because that's was my thing.
Like obviously, like the overall construction of the truck may not be able to be. We can't really do anything about that. But as far as reconfiguring compartments or the cab, we can change a lot of things, but not everything.
So,
Like as far as like the seating arrangement, that's pretty much set. Like we'll have 6 seats total in the truck. But as far as like moving tools around and compartmentation, we can change that stuff.
so for me, my thing is computers. Like when I work, and I know what bells and whistles I need to function more efficiently. Have you guys considered that? Like, I know you're coming from a 30-year-old truck all the way forward to something new, but efficiency, not, I heard you use the word modest. So I want to piggyback on what Ms. Underwood is saying and making sure that modest isn't bare minimum.
No, there are standards that we are definitely advancing to way above than what we have now. as far as electronics and the computer system than the truck alone. Like one of the items we were talking about earlier before he came in here was the Axis smart truck technology that this vendor offers. So similar to when a check engine light goes off in your car, you really don't know what's going on. You just know like, oh, something's wrong. So with this system, it will actually, if there's something wrong with the Cummins motor that's in it, that will actually send an email via the system to the Cummins diesel shop, and then also to our fleet maintenance personnel on the department, and we'll tell them exactly what kind of code it is so that it cuts down on repair time and guesswork. So that is definitely an upgrade. If that ever does happen, we'll know exactly what to fix, how much it's going to cost. So it's way better in the long run financially.
I have another question for you. So how many fire engines would you say exist within Hamilton County, if you had to guess?
Oh, shoot. There's 22 fire departments in Hamilton County. But,
Okay.
so we'll say at least 22, right? I would say so. Oh, yeah, that's not counting the city of Cincinnati. But
I want to.
outside of city of Cincinnati, there's the potential that 20 or so engines that are there, but they're not always staffed.
Okay, so let's include the city of Cincinnati for argument's sake, because I don't think you're really answering my question, but I'm going to keep asking.
Go ahead.
So of those 22 departments, what is the bare minimum truck that exists? Like, what is the average type of truck that exists in all of Hamilton County, which includes the city of Cincinnati? So if you had to say, let's say that there are only 10 trucks, I want to know what the average truck contains on it. Like, if the average truck contains like $1,000 more equipment than this truck contains, that's the question I'm asking you.
No, I would say this truck is an average truck.
Okay.
So what I usually tell people when we're working with fire apparatus is a fire apparatus is more like building a custom home, more so than buying a car. There's really infinite amount of options you can do with them. We're looking at let's call it $600,000 pumper here. These things can go north of $900,000 for a pumper that essentially has the same motor, same pump, same firefighting capabilities, but might have a lot more bells and whistles, if you will. I'll give you an example. I won't say the name of the customer, but they didn't want anything shiny on their truck, so we're covering everything in black Line-X, like for a truck bed. They're paying $38,000 to do this. That helps honestly, it helps your firefighting capability zero, but it looks cool. So that's some of the things that we get into. It's endless on what you can do with these trucks. So there's really, and this is all I do day in and day out. These guys haven't asked for anything that was just one of those, you want to do what kind of thing, which I have a lot of.
Not like the coffee
And then no espresso machines or anything like that, which.
Oh my gosh.
So
And I wouldn't, I wouldn't expect that they would. I suspect that what they would do is the exact opposite. Like, they actually need a knob to turn the water on.
And they're like, no, it's okay, we can make it.
But they've decided, we're gonna
He failed to
save.
write a grant, it's
we're
fine.
gonna right, we can just write a grant for that, and we'll just take that off.
A wrench at home.
So one of the things that Kevin just reminded me of, and when we were looking at what options to put on here, was that some of the guys on the committee, as well as the rest of the department, they wanted a front intake inlet for the water, so they could pull like nose into a hydrant. Like, we have a lot of dead end streets, and that's kind of perfect for that situation. But that add-on is $11,000. So we were kind of getting close on the budget that we were given, and we're like, do we really need this? Can we accomplish it some other way? And so that was one of the extras, if you will, that we opted not to go with because it did increase the cost significantly.
Well, see, I just think that we have a lot of dead-end streets in North College Hill, so I don't know. I think,
Mine being one of them. And I've had 2 house fires, so I would really like that.
Maybe you should be more careful.
Yeah. Talk to my mom about
I mean,
that,
it's not too late that we can add that on there, but I would say that is probably to the extent of what we're looking for. I understand what you're saying is that, like, if you want something, just tell us, and I get that, but I mean, this is what we want.
okay.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Sorry. So, Deputy Chief Plackey, how many people were on this committee that came up with this plan?
7.
7? So,
With the input of a few here and there.
sure. So we're all 7 happy with this choice? I mean, does anyone have any regrets about this? I mean, you guys gotta do the job.
All but
Who
one.
are we to question that, your opinion? So that's kind of where I'm going with it. So is everyone happy with this choice?
Yes, all but one. There was the one that he was wanting the front intake. He was wanting to know why we weren't going to put it on there, and I kind of told him the same thing I told Mrs. Underwood.
There's another way to do what you would need to do with that.
Does the current one have that?
No, we don't have any trucks that have that.
So you've already figured out another way to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it an efficient way to do whatever it is you're describing?
It's similar. I mean, there might be a little more labor involved, but not much.
Okay.
Manual labor.
Thank you.
I would still be curious to see, I would like to see I know I don't want to get into a huge fight with everybody on council or whatever about, like, I think they should have all 50 of those items. I'm not going to do that. But I would just be curious to know, like, what things were whittled off of your truck.
Yeah, and I'll be happy to send it over to you. But with that, outside of the construction of the truck, and the price increases that we're going to continue to see, and there's no guarantee when or where those are going to happen. We did reach out to a bank, and we're able to secure a 60-day window on some financing if you want to see that as well. That's also in the proposal.
Okay, so how are we, outside of my next question, which would be what do you need from us, but like how are we paying for this, and how does the fire levy do that?
So how we would pay for this is going through this either through the vendor itself or a bank, just depending on what you want to get out of the loan as far as percentage rate and all that stuff. So through the bank, they approved us for $600,000 at the rate of 2.79 with a 10-year payoff.
Okay.
So and that is also included in your proposal there in front of you. They've listed 2 options. So and on top of that, we wouldn't pay anything. It would be 0 down until we take delivery of the truck, which truck takes 18 months now, average, for completion.
Wow.
Where will the truck be built? I saw 2 cities.
It's in Ocala, Florida.
Oh, okay.
Silly question. Do you drive that up?
I was just about to ask that.
I don't. We use the trucking company just for liability.
So it has all those miles on it when we get it?
It'll have approximately 8,900 miles on it when it arrives here. And actually, that's usually, so mileage on, correct me if I'm wrong, mileage on fire trucks is usually not a big to do because
It's more so the hours on a diesel motor.
so it's really a pretty good shake-in period for that truck to be transported, that trip from Florida to Cincinnati, and just to make sure everything's working. Because our mechanics actually go over once it gets to our shop as well, just to make sure everything's still working properly and tight.
That's almost like a good test for it.
That's a good break-in.
But you can have it, flatbedded up, but it's about another $3,000 to do that.
That 10% is the guy with the black,
Correct.
fire engine.
So I'll ask another stupid question. I know you said it's not like buying a car, it's more like buying a house, but is there any, like, 5-year, 100,000 miles on the powertrain or any of that kind of stuff?
Yes, it comes with multiple different warranties. So E1, the truck manufacturer, you get a 1-year bumper to bumper, 10-year structural warranties on the cabin body, 5-year electronic system warranty, 5-year on the motor, the transmission, the axles, 10-year on paint, 5 years on a pump. I mean, there's multiple different warranties that it comes with.
So then back to Erica's second question, what do you need from us?
So I guess, not I guess, but what we would need would be approval from the Public Safety Committee to move forward and present it to council.
I would, before we do that, I would like to know what the difference is in price to add the front intake or not add it.
Thought he said $11,000.
What is it, 11, yeah?
Stand by, we can get that.
I mean, I won't have it tonight. I have to do some, there's multiple different components that takes, so, I can
I'd like
have
to
that
run
for you
past them.
pretty quickly, but it's gonna be around that $11,000.
Yeah, he's $11,000, that's what, at this point. I heard when you said that.
I know, you described it as like the same thing as a house, and if I had a house and there was a difference in the way they built the front of the house where I had stairs or no stairs, I'm gonna pay the extra money to have no stairs, because I don't wanna walk upstairs when I walk into my house. It just wear and tear on my knees. So I'm just, if we're thinking about North College Hill, not necessarily where other places that we have to go to and fro for mutual aid. I'm just thinking about places in North College Hill. Also, we have a lot of retired people who own their homes outright. And, if you lose your home because the apparatus needs manual labor to jimmy rig the hoses so we can reach your house when the hydrant is down here and the house is up here. I don't know. I'm just trying to be mindful of that.
And I'm accepting of it. I mean, if that is something that we want to explore to put it back on the truck, then I'm all ears on that.
Is that the thing that you would, like, or were you just using that as an example, or is that the thing that it's like, if I could add one more thing to it, that's what I would add?
That would be the one thing that we would add to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd like to say, like, $11,000 for the last truck lasted 30 years. That's
Right.
And that's our goal with this truck. This truck is gonna be here for 30 years. We're gonna make sure that it lasts.
Well, then I would
So we
say-
want to make sure we do it right the first
I
time.
know, so I would be inclined to kind of encourage my fellow colleagues to put that, because you guys have already demonstrated that you're a good steward with our resources. Thank you very much. So I'm sure that there are probably other things that you probably could use that you're not telling us about, and I get it.
But not off the top of my head, but if we could sit down later, we could go over those options if you'd like.
Still being politically correct, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, how many miles does that one have on it?
The current one?
Mhm.
Stand by.
How many
I know
what?
I got a picture on my phone because I was going through last year trying to submit for a grant to replace that truck outright, and that they didn't I didn't get approved for that one.
No.
It says 60 days on the quote.
We're 2 weeks in.
Okay, well, we're not gonna wait until our next meeting. We're just going to refer it to
forward.
council and I think to the council floor, which is what we need to do. But I would like to refer it to council, including that front intake. And then I'll just meet with Chief Deputy Plackey.
Is
and-
it plaque or placky?
Plackey.
Okay, just making sure. I was saying it plaque in my head, so I wanted to make sure I was wrong.
So as it sits right now, we are at 33,251 miles. And then there, for the hours on the vehicle, it is 38,000, or I'm sorry, no, 3,813.
And that's all city miles, right?
Yeah, that's all pretty much within the city of North College Hill.
So I don't want anybody listening to think 33,000, oh, that's not a lot. That's not a lot for a car.
Right.
Right.
It's quite a lot for a neighborhood. Okay. Okay, so does anyone else have any questions, or does anyone have any concerns? Let me ask that.
I just sent you an email, Miss Underwood and Deputy Chief Plackey. If you just wouldn't mind sharing this presentation with me for on the computer, so I can just include it in the minutes, just so I don't have to type everything that we set out.
Yes, I'll forward both to you.
Thank you.
And if you have a time between, in the next week, because I think our next council meeting is next week, is that right?
It's on the 7th of February, so we actually have 2 weeks in between.
So we have 2 weeks. If you have 2 weeks, sometime in the next couple of weeks, so I can just sit down and ask you some more questions, out where we're not in front of the camera, I would appreciate that.
Certainly.
Can I just point out, make sure you do it early enough that you give,
Feedback, sure, absolutely.
know enough time to write up the legislation to get it
Oh,
to
yes,
council before
Okay.
that Thursday.
absolutely. Okay.
That's where I was, sorry,
Did you hear what she just suggested to me?
going down the whole process.
Okay. So if we could just, if you could just, I don't know how much time you have, but if you could just wait after the meeting, if I could get, in your calendar, and I would appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody else want to come?
I don't have to, but I would like to.
Okay, well, I think you should.
Okay, I just didn't want you guys to like plan your schedules around mine, but if it works out that I can come, I'd love to.
Same.
Okay. See, we're all interested.
Very well.
How many people are on your committee?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, it's only two of
You
us could
can't-
go.
Three of you can't do it.
That's what I was just going to ask, because I'm not.
That's quorum.
Oh,
So
okay.
only like me
Only
or
two?
Rias could go.
Okay.
Do you want to arm wrestle for it?
No.
No kidding. I was kidding. I'm not actually going to.
Unless you're going to take easy gymnastics,
I mean, actually, I might want to. That sounds pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. Have you met me?
We're all arm wrestling to come and meet with you. That's just great. It's just because we're familiar that you guys write grant proposals a lot, and
We just all
honestly,
have.
and we appreciate that. We really do. But if you don't have to do that, we would. I think that there is some room in our budget for us to help you get this front intake at the very least, I think.
Hang on, though, if you can get the grant to get this whole kit caboodle, we'd love that too.
I've tried. Like it was I sat in a webinar where they talked about the priorities for last year's grant, where they were going to send some of the money, and apparatus purchasing was not even on the list. So it was an attempt, a valid attempt, and it just didn't work.
So you sat through a webinar before you wrote the.
No, I wrote it and submitted it, and then they're afterwards they're like, oh yeah, well we're really focusing on this. These are the items that we're going to be focusing on. I'm like, oh well, there was. I tried.
Okay.
In the fire world, fire apparatus are the most applied for and one of the least funded. It's,
Wow.
you get a lot of PPE and that sort of stuff for grants, but as
Right.
far as trucks, they're tough.
Okay. I don't know. Does anyone else have any questions?
I think they're slackers.
Joking.
Yeah, because I'm I'm sure that, spending like,
I have one, sorry.
sure.
What do you do with the old truck?
So the old truck will go on to, like an example of it would be like govdeals.com. So where like anybody can purchase it through a bidding process. Since it's a city asset, that's kind of how it has to go. So not, I wouldn't say any fire departments here in the United States would buy it, but maybe it would get shipped overseas if somebody over there bought it. Or I've seen farmers purchase them for the pumps and the motors, and they just yank those out and they get rid of the rest of the truck.
So there's a chance we could recoup some funds?
Mm-hmm. Yep, through the gov deals. I don't know what the percentage, their cut and all that stuff, but I mean, it's minimal, but yes.
Like $11,000?
Yeah, probably, but he's shaking his head no.
Oh, okay. Whoa. Okay. That's crazy.
It's a 30-year-old truck though, so.
I know, you just like, you would think even just for parts. I don't know. I know nothing
Junk it
about
for
fire
metal and
trucks.
get more than that.
Right.
Parts for that, though, you gotta remember 30 years, many parts are obsolete.
Right.
They don't even supply them anymore.
Yeah.
So you'd have to go, and that's the problem. So if you wanted to get a replacement part, you'd have to go to another similar truck,
Right.
to get the part.
Right.
That's a difficult thing.
Interesting. Learn something new every day.
Truck pull and pay. Sorry, that was funny in my head.
That was funny. I like it. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Yeah, thank
coming
you.
and
Thank you all for listening.
sharing this proposal. We will refer this to council so that we can get the legislation written, and just, again, I want to just try to schedule a meeting with you just to make sure that there's nothing else that we should be trying to consider at least.
Absolutely. And thank you for encouraging that. That really means a lot.
Okay, all right. So again, we have goals for a new year. Does anyone want to, any goals that anybody has for our committee for this year?
I personally would say re-looking or starting to look again at that traffic calming study. I feel like we spent a couple solid weeks on it and then it got lost in the trenches.
Okay,
What was that?
The traffic calming study?
which you will notice that is in my old business that I will not let go. Okay. Anything else?
Police department levy.
Okay. Oh, yeah, sure. I think we should discuss that.
Police levy?
Absolutely, yes. Yep. Anything else?
Soon.
Huh?
Yes, very soon.
Or what now? Yes, it is. I think it has to be on the ballot this year, if I'm not mistaken. Anything else?
What about the, I forget what it was called, the police,
The police reporting packet?
nope,
I think I can add that,
Task force.
though.
task force.
Oh, the task force, yes,
What was
because
that?
the task force. I
Oh,
think we
with the
should-
police levy?
No, I got permission from council to create a task force. And
Oh,
the only reason I didn't start the meetings on that, because I thought that things were so polarized at the time that it was just not a good time to do that. But I think maybe now that, there's been some calming of the rhetoric, I think that we, now would maybe be a good time to do that, and just to see, how, what we can do better. So, absolutely. Any other ideas? Okay. Our old business, our, traffic calming study, Prospect Place. Speed humps and police reporting. Am I missing anything?
No, I think that those are all like important things that I guess could also be goals for the new year.
Did we, just a question, I thought we had a few temporary humps that we were moving around, or that never happened?
Well, unless I drive around North College Hill and see a speed hump in the middle of the street, on any street, I am gonna leave this on this agenda.
Okay.
So, because I was driving through Oakley,
Portable.
and there are speed humps on Madison Road. And on Madison Road, yes, ma'am. If you, okay. No, on Madison Road.
No, I was gonna say it's in the little, area where the old, cinema used to be.
Just past that. So it's past that, like near where the UDF is, and like there's something over there.
You're like coming up from Seven Hills area and before you go into like Hyde Park area, right?
Right,
Yeah. It's like
on Madison
the little
Road.
section.
And yeah, there's speed bumps there.
I,
No. Before you get to the
Or
bridge.
The bridge, yeah.
Because I was just,
Heading which way?
okay, so if you're coming from, okay, if you're coming from Madison Bowl and you're headed toward, like, Oakley, you go past Crossroads, under that bridge, and then it's up in that area right there. Okay? Possibly. Yep. I would encourage everyone to drive over in that area to see what I'm talking about, because I know that there was some concern even about putting them on Hamilton Avenue and Galbraith Road, but it's on Madison, it's on Madison Road.
I think that was the whole issue. The discussion went on about where they should go.
Right,
and we talked about not harming our streets because
Right.
they, even though they're movable, they're not
They just-
movable without a price.
And I
right.
remember something else we wanted to get Chief Fells and Chief Strand here to see what their thoughts were about where they wanted them, so that way it wouldn't get,
Okay, so it's not those harsh ones, like the ones that I think would,
It's not a speed bump.
it's a speed hump.
right, oh, definitely,
the
yeah. But still, I was just recalling from our conversation a while ago that we wanted to bring them into the conversation too and get their opinion.
Well, look at
Well,
how
we have a
fortunate
chief
are we that they're
deputy over
here.
there who, he's sitting right over there at the table. We can ask
And the
him.
guy that knows all about the equipment.
There we go,
So we have the perfect audience.
there we go.
What do y'all think about speed humps?
Depends on location.
Like, will it cause wear and tear on the truck that's unnecessary?
Depends on the driver.
Ah.
I mean, the goal is to take them slow and easy, right? So if we can do that, then it shouldn't cause any extra wear or anything.
Will it cause will it make you guys, will it cause too much time for response times, if that makes
So,
sense? Will it
if-
slower your response time?
So, no, I don't think it will, but just to be cautious and know that they're there, is another thing. And we also operate in due regard for others, so we do have to obey traffic laws and other things. I mean, even when the lights and siren are on, we still have to come to a complete stop at stoplights, stop signs. So that would just be another thing that we're just gonna have to be aware of, that there's a speed hump here, so we might wanna slow the speed down.
Well, hearing that it doesn't affect the response time honestly makes me feel better.
I think they slow down when they go into residential areas anyway.
So what I would encourage everyone to do, if when you have time, is kind of drive over in the area that I'm describing, not very well, because I don't have a good sense of direction. So I can't even tell you what the cross streets are or anything like that. I can just say that it's between Crossroads and the cinema that somebody mentioned. It's in between those two
It's the
things.
20th century, the old 20th century movie theater.
Right.
And there's
It's
it's not a roundabout, but there's a kind of a circle there, isn't that
right,
correct?
it's not near that. It's further down,
Okay.
Further towards the cinema or further towards Crossroads?
further towards Crossroads. Yeah, well, yeah, I think it's new, for sure, but it's.
So there's
but
like a
it's-
Skyline and a
You know, that's
Burrito Joe's and all that.
come back the other way. Crossroads is the, it sounds like it's further back the other way. The skyline is going south.
Down by the theater.
I don't know about that, but
I would,
just if,
You have tunnel vision when you
right.
do.
I know, I was like, there's a speed hump on Madison Avenue. Note to self, I'm mentioning this when we get, when we start talking about speed humps again.
I guess for me, I would, because I do believe that Mr. Cole has already purchased those because we just talked about it, but, I just hope that we can be mindful and get them somewhere coming up March.
Right,
I know spring break is second to the last, last full week or something. If we can get them out somewhere because kids will be out.
right, I agree. I just know that there was a lot of discussion about, like, we can't put it on Galbraith or Hamilton because it's too busy, and it's on Madison. It's on
Yeah,
Madison.
That's where they
That's,
pass
that's
in the
my
center
point,
lane.
right? That's, if it's on Madison Road, then we certainly can put
Well,
one on
and
Galbraith,
if anything, I mean, if it's gonna slow down traffic to what it was designed to be at, it'll
Which is
probably make the
25
road
miles
feel
per
less
hour.
busy, because that's
Yes.
what the road was designed to be at.
right?
Like,
I
Nothing
think,
else, we
yeah,
could just put them in the turn lane so that people don't use that as a passing lane.
Right,
we got lots of ideas.
yeah, yes, for sure, yes, I agree with that.
I got the daylight scared out of me last week. All I did was, there were two people, I guess I was coming towards Lois from the west side, and there were two people backing out of the driveways on my right side. I got into the center lane to turn on Lois, and this car was going so fast, I had to gas my car to get into Lois to keep them from hitting me. And I'm trying to figure out how fast were you going on Galbraith Road?
Right.
It scared me to death. My heart was beating, because the car just came out of nowhere speeding, and I just gassed my car to get out of their way. It scared
Somebody
me.
got stuck on the rock at South Ridge and, right before I got here.
Good, leave them
I
there
know
as
we-
an
I know
example.
we've had a few
Don't
accidents
do
at,
this.
Yeah, they just. I
Hamilton
couldn't
Avenue and
believe
on the
it.
corner of Penn Station and, what is that street there? Trying to think. Hamilton and, Goodman. There are quite a few there.
They were on the rock, the rock in the island, right there by.
I know how it happens at that intersection. There's an arrow there, and people are not mindful that there's an arrow for the turn lane, and they just keep turning right without being mindful that there's an arrow turning left onto Goodman from Hamilton, and they're turning right onto Goodman, coming the other direction, and they're all flying, so there's just huge crashes there all the time. I actually saw one, so I was like, oh, that's how that happened, so.
Oh, goodness.
Probably need to put a sign up there, like no right turn on red or something, and that'll maybe alleviate some of it, but there are still
You're
people
funny.
who, right, I know.
Funny.
I try to think happy thoughts about these things, I don't know.
What is it she saying?
Positive intent.
Yes.
Assume positive.
I knew you were gonna throw that back.
Pulled in my driveway, my heart was beating so fast. I was like, where's my car heading to gas? And
So what is our homework on the speed humps? To have suggestions of where we think they should go? What do you want from us?
Now, knowing that there are speed humps, I'm gonna say this again,
On
on
Madison.
Madison Avenue, or Madison Road. If everybody could, for homework, go over there and see what I'm talking about, so I'm not, and then we can come back and have a renewed discussion about where we can put these things, and then give the administration what they need to actually get them out there. I don't know what we need to do, but that way we can accomplish something. I want to accomplish something before Matt Miller Novak. How about that?
I don't think they all should go on Main Street. I think
Oh, for
I
sure.
think a mix of
Yeah.
The cross-through streets, like Simpson,
Right.
Savannah,
Yeah.
Leboido, what's the last one?
Yeah, Leboido would be good. There's.
Clovernoll?
What's the last one before Joseph? Before Joseph? Is that Center Ridge? Center Ridge. Like all the pass-through, Leboido's a huge one.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But we didn't want any on Betts, right? We talked about Betts. We said.
I
no.
think we absolutely should.
think we
That's where the kid
absolutely
got-
should reconsider
That's where the
that.
kid got ran over.
We should, yes, absolutely,
Yeah, that's a cut through.
yes.
Betts.
I think that before there was this thought that certain streets were inappropriate because of how busy they were, but Madison Road, I
Now
mean,
you got a park, well, there's been a park.
It's the busyness is what
right,
almost dictates it.
absolutely, I agree.
We're approaching it poorly.
Well, I wasn't. I think we should put them wherever we need to put them. So I'm not going
Support
to
you in
own that
that.
one. Yes, I think we absolutely should put them in those areas. Okay, so any new business from anyone? Okay. Action items, I've got a few. Okay, so the only thing one thing, myself and who's going with me?
Me.
Rias or Marjorie?
It doesn't matter. We
Just
can
whoever has the time.
Yeah, whoever's schedule fits best.
Look at us fighting over you. It's great. Okay, okay. Anything else before we adjourn?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
you should have 2 pieces of legislation.
We reviewed that in the other committee?
That was for rules and public policy.
Oh, is that what happened? Okay, I apologize. I thought it was, right here. So the SALT contract,
You missed the committee meeting where we
Yeah.
reviewed that.
okay. So they're gonna be on the council agenda.
We did refer it to the council agenda from the other committee meeting, which you missed.
Yes.
That's one question that,
So we're not supposed to talk about it here, is what she's
Yeah.
saying.
they were trying to figure out what the.
No, we discussed that in the
Yeah,
other
you're
committee
not
meeting,
supposed to
so
talk
if
about
you
that
would
in
like
this
to
committee.
discuss that with Mr. Mosby after this meeting is adjourned, that's fine, but I would like to be respectful and mindful of everyone's time.
Oh, okay, sure.
Anything else? So it is 8:32 PM and we are adjourned. Thank you.